So, when you think about an arms race, what pops into your head? You're probably thinking faster jets, right? Maybe stealthier submarines? Well, China's military is thinking about something completely different. They're in a race where the ultimate battlefield isn't land or sea or air, it's the human mind itself. Now, that's not a line from some sci-fi movie. That is a direct quote from a major general in China's People's Liberation Army. And this isn't just talk, it signals a really profound shift in military thinking, where the ultimate high ground isn't a hill you can capture, but human consciousness itself. It sounds incredible, right? Almost unbelievable. So the big question is, how exactly is China's military actually trying to turn what seems like science fiction into a concrete military reality? Let's break down their strategy. First thing to get is that this isn't about just building more tanks or more planes. This is a race for technological supremacy, and it's being driven by a top-down directive that says only the innovators win. China sees this whole tech revolution as a historic chance to kind of leapfrog conventional military power and gain an unbeatable edge by mastering these new frontiers before anyone else does. To really understand this ambition, we have to look at a fundamental shift in China's military doctrine. It's a move away from the kind of warfare we've seen in the recent past and towards something they call intelligentized war. You see, since the 1990s, the PLA has been focused on what they called informatized warfare. This was all about mastering the digital battlefield, networks, cyber attacks, electronic warfare. The goal was pretty simple: dominate the flow of information. But now, they're looking ahead to the next step: intelligentized warfare. And this is a huge leap. In this vision, artificial intelligence isn't just another tool. It's the dominant factor that's going to fundamentally change how conflict even works. In fact, some PLA academics believe AI will become even more critical than firepower. This comparison here really makes the shift crystal clear. The focus moves from controlling information to achieving AI-driven decision dominance. The key tech is no longer just networks, but AI and brain science. And, this is the most critical part, the human role changes from just being an operator to becoming a fully integrated human-machine hybrid. That concept of fusion is key to everything that comes next. So, this whole idea of the human-machine hybrid leads us directly to something even more radical. Because if you are going to fuse humans and machines, well, you first have to master the human part of that equation. And this is where the battlefield moves squarely into our minds. PLA strategists have a name for this: mental dominance. It's all about achieving superiority in the cognitive domain. And that doesn't just mean thinking faster yourself. It means actively targeting, influencing, and disrupting your opponent's ability to think clearly and make decisions at all. Their research into this military brain science is pretty comprehensive. It breaks down into this four-pronged approach. First, imitate the brain to build smarter AI. Second, control the brain using things like brain-computer interfaces. Third, enhance the brain to boost their own soldiers' cognitive performance. And finally, the most aggressive one: destroy the brain's ability to function, totally disrupting an adversary's thinking. So why this intense focus on the brain? Well, it's because they believe that as warfare becomes intelligentized, the sheer speed and complexity of the battlefield is going to completely overwhelm a purely human commander. The goal is to fuse human intuition with the raw processing power of a machine, creating a hybrid that can make decisions way faster and better than is currently possible. This quote from a PLA researcher really paints a picture of the ultimate vision. They talk about a combat brain, and this isn't just one super smart commander. It's the idea of a distributed, networked consciousness of human minds and AI systems all working together as one single cognitive entity across the entire battlefield. Okay, so if controlling the brain sounds like something out of the far future, the next frontier in the strategy is even more profound. The PLA's ambition goes beyond silicon chips and into the very building blocks of life itself. We're talking about the weaponization of biology. And there he is again, Major General He Chu. This statement is incredibly clear. The PLA sees mastering biotech not just as some advantage, but as the next strategic commanding heights, the ultimate high ground in any future conflict. And just like mental dominance, they've got a term for this too: biological dominance. It's the same idea, just in the biological realm. It's about achieving superiority by using biology for everything from making their own soldiers more effective to creating entirely new kinds of weapons.
At the core of this whole strategy is just dissolving the line between technology and biology. The PLA sees this fusion as a brand new biological frontier, a tangible domain of conflict that's just as real as land, sea, air, or space, a domain that they feel must be understood and ultimately dominated.
And look, this is not just theoretical. The PLA is actively researching human performance enhancement. For example, a doctoral dissertation from a top military medical university back in 2016 specifically identified CRISPR gene editing as a key tool for boosting combat effectiveness. The paper explicitly argues that China must grasp the initiative in this new disruptive technology. Now, this research leads to a deeply concerning possibility, and it's described in the PLA's own literature. The 2017 edition of their authoritative textbook, Science of Military Strategy, actually discusses the potential for new kinds of biological warfare. This includes, and this is a direct quote, specific ethnic genetic attacks. And this isn't some isolated idea. It's a concept that shows up in other official PLA writings as well. So what happens when you put all of this together, when you combine these ambitions? What does this new vision for the future of conflict actually look like? Well, what we've seen is this coherent strategy that fuses intelligentized warfare with the hunt for both mental and biological dominance. And the result is a vision for war where the battlefield isn't just physical anymore. It expands into the invisible, internal domains of an adversary's mind and ultimately their very genetic code. This all raises a profound question for every single one of us. For centuries, the rules of war have been about physical conflict, about targeting bodies. But as warfare moves from targeting bodies to targeting minds, what are the new rules of engagement, and who gets to write them?